Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Analysis Interactions. Today, I have with me Amit Relan, co-founder and director mFilterIt. Hi, welcome Amit to Interactions.
Okay. Hi, Faisal. Thanks for calling me.
Okay, so Amit, this ad fraud, it's something like, it's still a jargon, I think, to most of us, even people who are in and around digital. So, what exactly is ad fraud?
Okay. So basically, just to give you a background in terms of what ad fraud is a function where illegitimate transactions, illegitimate click installs, leads, and the whole aspects of digital marketing is being illegitimately done towards the advertisers. And when advertisers pay money on different media mixes, different media plans, and so on and so forth, it is subjected to illegitimate activities. So
Hmm.
technically, just to give you in a very layman language, you spend 100 rupees on your print TV billboards, or for example, in this case, it is digital. Uh, Advertisers spend that amount of money and they are cheated. That's it.
Okay.
They're cheated from a standpoint of what they are paying, but what they are not getting that in returns.
Okay. So, help me understand a bit more. So, what I understood is, advertisers pay money and probably they don't get what they pay for. That is that is exactly what fraud is.
Yes, that's right. So I think there could be different categorizations or classifications in how does advertisers measure their spends, measure their ROIs. But in a broad terms, I pay X to get certain activities in return.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a click or a download or a lead or an impression and so on and so forth. Now, whether that impression or a click or a lead is actually delivered to the end user,
Okay.
that's the whole aspects of looking at whether it is good or a bad, and that's what we come in and we act like auditors, you can say,
Okay.
as a validators on it at an always on kind of a session where
Okay.
whenever they spend, there is somebody like a watchdog who's watching it and measuring it and monitoring it, and basis that they can have a sound sleep in terms of what is being done or whatever is being delivered is measured properly, and then their payouts are accordingly.
Ah, I see. So help me understand now. Okay, there is this gap. Now, how does it occur? So is it? I think one, it is because of bots, and second, it can also be maybe humans doing something wrong.
So it's a in a basic term, yes, the bots, there are good bots and there are bad bots.
Mm-hmm.
So the good bots would be like people answering voice chats or normal normal interactions towards the call centers and others. Or there are a lot of search. Google does search, a lot of search bots and other things, which is for a good thing, for a good purpose. But bots are done for a different reason also.
Mm-hmm.
Filling in leads, filling in, making calls to a certain set of certain target audience. So that's how one activity is. The second aspect, what we measure complete in a very different world is performance frauds,
Okay.
and that would be very interesting for you or very interesting for the audiences there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would say that the performance can't be just as a simple example. Can sale be stolen? I
Mm-hmm.
have, I'm as a brand or as a business owner, I sell a particular product, and or that product I give a certain percentage of that commission to the person who drove those transactions. So the people have gone into such a way that even those transactions are also mimicked in a
Oh,
in a way that yes, the sale was genuine, but it was an organic sale for you, which you were not supposed to pay for.
okay.
It's something like I like for example, uh, any big brand would have an organic source of data. Organic says organic way of buying certain products or
Mm-hmm.
selling certain products.
Mm-hmm.
There is a paid way of selling those products. So imagine you as a businessman, you do great amount of work, you do great amount of branding, your product is extremely good. But then, and you're done, and your product decisions are based on that, that I'm getting certain amount of sales.
Right.
Then once you're confident, you'll say, okay, I'll add in channel partners, I'll add in distributors. Now imagine a distributor taking away your organic leads and saying, please go via me, and I will attribute that sale to you. So imagine how what you would you feel as an entrepreneur. Now it was I did great amount of work, and this can be fun for any damn business. I'm not saying it's not e-commerce. It is not. It can be B2B. It can be for my business. Like for example, I suppose we did this program,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody in that community liked it, and they came to me said, okay, this is something what I want to do. And now look, somebody put a lead on my landing page. But imagine somebody else attributed my paid source came to know and they attributed it.
Right. Right.
So I mean, people have gone to that extent, and you would be surprised. Uh, I really see this, and people don't believe it. And at times, people will not, and you will also be saying, "I don't know what the hell is he saying."
Mm-hmm.
Can this be really genuine? I mean, I get a genuine sale, I get a genuine lead, and we're talking to a very, very large brand. He said, it can't happen. I said, somebody's stealing your organic. How can somebody steal your organic?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the kind of a sophistication what the, I mean, what should I say, the fraudsters have gone into. So it's wherever the money is, people will create those kind of activities to game it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're a gaming company, you want acquisitions and you want users to play a game.
Right.
And you would say once a user plays a game, I would eventually pay that particular user, the guy who drove that install or drove that activity or an acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a bot playing the game, and to play a game he needs to register. He registered. He registered on a bot which did all these activities. So we talk about RPAs in financial domains, and we talk about these are all good activities. Now
Mm-hmm.
these set of people have done mimicking the complete user journey,
Right.
and then even to an extent registering yourself, registering yourself onto that particular brand that okay I did this activity.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have done that activity as an entrepreneur, you will say, or as a brand manager, you will say, okay, this makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I tell you this whole process was being done by a set of people only to actually get that activity so that he could get paid.
Absolutely.
There are numerous examples around it. It
Yeah.
could be a company, it could be e-commerce, it could be a landing page, a lead page. Even to an extent, I'll go a step further. I buy a particular product, I cancel that product. You cancel that subscription.
Mm-hmm.
I was only get paid for buying a particular product, and there are 3 days or 4 days or whatever to say okay whether I want it or not. Like any brands will actually give this kind of a combination. And after the second day or third day, they cancel it. And you name an industry, it is there: banking, finance, insurance, e-commerce, gaming companies. I just gave an example. Traditional, non-traditional. I think you name it. So it's like in the good old days, there are incentives, and the incentives were used by the distribution agencies to play around with that, and that's and
Mm-hmm.
come to the digital world. And coming back to our conversation on ad fraud, we specialized in marketing, acquisition, retargeting, app web kind of a fraud detection.
Okay.
So our expertise is in the areas when CMOs and marketeers spend money.
Okay.
We help them in validating whether that spend is legit or illegit. And if it is illegit, there has to be correction mechanisms to do it on the fly
Right.
so that end of the month when their payouts are being done, they're only billed on genuine valid transactions. So I mean that's our point of view and that's what we do.
That's interesting. So two things came to my mind when you were, explaining this. So, the I think the closest thing which I could relate is when we used to, or still at times used to travel via road, by road, in on the highways. So usually the driver, if you're in a public transport, would take you to a particular dhaba, because they would have some sort of arrangement out there. Now, what I could correlate of organic stealing is, like, if I myself want to go that dhaba, and the driver is still kind of taking that credit that I brought him to the dhaba. So that's perhaps
No,
what I could.
I should start explaining like this.
Yeah, I could relate to this. And second, you said about online, and essentially about returning, and returning your buys. So there is an interesting series, I think, on Netflix, if I'm not wrong. It's called, I think, Khan Number One Detective or something. So one of the episodes is just on this, how I think, and it's based on a real story, how a particular, I think, suburb of Mumbai, where someone who was actually a delivery boy was thrown out of job, and just to revenge that company, he created a whole network which was just working on this returning products. That's
There are numerous examples. Very recent example. I think we just came for one of the sessions from one of the customers. Recent examples: a large telco operator in US. They ran a program of doing gamifications and game zones and other things. They're
hmm
giving $50 credit to good end consumers who were actually doing an activity, or they were like good consumers for them. And they ran a sweepstake.
okay.
And then they ran a sweepstake combination of about $50 or $100 of that sweepstakes, and they had about 1,000 or 2,000 kind of those sweepstake lotteries, or which can't call lottery from a legitimate stuff. And they found a place in US which has a population of about 4,000 people. And US, by the way, is 7 times bigger than India.
Right.
And 4,000 people, one credit's worth more than $4 million, just out of 4,000 people. And when they found out, there was a very clear pattern coming out that all the leads, all, like, for example, if I put up a lottery and I buy certain rows, so there would be certain set of username, number, email, address, locations were there.
hmm
And all those addresses and locations peculiarly were coming from the same place
Okay.
at, at a volume. So now, for example, it was a bot which,
Right.
which filled in all these things.
hmm
That means those bot also had genuine genuine numbers of 4,000 people. And out of that lead, because it was sweepstake, or they knew that only there's certain set of people there, certain will fill in.
hmm
Suppose, simple example, if I have 1 lakh people coming in and 80,000 are from that activity, so the probability of getting that sweepstake will be extremely high, and that's what happened.
Okay.
So that mobile operator was extremely happy that okay, it was a great success, but unfortunately, it was all illegit way of earning that $50 credit. And this is nothing to do with ad fraud. This is like a bounty program, and the bounty program was that people figured out, okay, this is how it needs to be linked to get that end activity. So I mean, other example, political rallies, right? You get so many people coming in, and you got to generate those cases. Now, as a competition, I can, or as a rival party, I think there could be a possibility to. There's numerous examples which you can actually relate, and of course, everything is not something what it falls under our purview, uh,
hmm
but our technology is pretty similar to catch these kind of things, because eventually everything is down the funnel performance, measurement, analytics on top of it, and so
Right.
on. And with COVID, with such a large disruptive towards adoption of digital, adoption of direct to consumer brands, these cases will bound to come,
hmm
and ramifications can be for consumers, for enterprises, for distributors, for middlemen. I would say for virtually the whole value chain, which
hmm
will be impacted because things would have to be done digital.
Right. And I think as new customers, new advertisers both join this digital, I think it's only going to be more prone to, I would say, frauds. I don't know whether that will. Okay, great. So,
So, yeah, just to add, I would say it's a completely different way of talking about what, in a traditional world, what auditors were supposed to do or
mhm.
in tune to do it. That there is, end of the day, I will measure in terms of how I did.
Mhm.
So the marketing assurance, marketing audit, digital assurance. I don't want to limit to only marketing because the ramifications are quite large in terms of what can be done. So
Right.
the digital assurance piece will catch attention, and I'm sure we are having very significant conversations with the whole ecosystem,
Okay.
whether it is brands, whether these are publishers, whether these are agencies, or there are large big four audit kind of a companies who is starting taking view of that in terms of how they should ensure that there is a clear governance framework for measuring their digital capabilities.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So that kind of sensitization has already, I think, happened, and it's.
Yeah, it is. I think COVID has created ruffles, uh,
Mhm.
has definitely created demand for digital transformation, and we see every day or we read everything what's happening around them. But now the realization of it is very good to do transformations and very good to do these activities. But the second aspect is how are you ensuring that these threads and transactions are monitored and measured and controlled, and the leakages are actually prevented,
Okay.
because that's extremely important.
Okay. Got it. Got it. I want to understand. You said like your solution probably caters to app, web, all kind of so to say platforms, and I think across all along the customer journey, as you were saying, like probably acquisition, retargeting, and others. So I want to understand like uh, where is it happening right now? Maybe the maximum is it something like that that probably in this category it's happening max? Is there anything like that? Any trend you witnessed like that?
So you're talking about fraud percentages in general, or you're talking about which segments are being most impacted in the space on the marketing what we are responsible for.
Right, right, right. I think both of them, both of them.
Okay, see, I mean, I just give you some overall picture or a global picture, and then I'll break it up in terms of what needs to be done at an APAC or an India level.
Sure.
Uh, so they're mind-boggling numbers. So digital overall worldwide is about $340 billion, plus minus 5-10%,
Right.
or 370 to be precise. Out of that, a recent report from one of the large agencies, $34 billion is pegged for ad firms, which was roughly about, I would say, about 24 2 years back.
Mm-hmm.
24 to 34, that's what they're saying. And it is bound to increase to about $87 billion in
Right.
the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, that's the kind of a leakage is what they're saying. If I look at these numbers, anything between 7 to 9% of your digital spends purely on the marketing, and I didn't even talk about down the funnel stuff, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the bounty program, what I was talking about, a large, very large number, and 22% or 22% of iOS apps, or 27, 28%, or 29, 30% of Android is subject to frauds.
Okay. Okay.
So I mean, if I just look at these trends, and what we see, these are global numbers, and we see close to about 30-35% of the spends, whatever we are measuring is wasted or
Mm-hmm.
would have been wasted. Of course, we are not there in virtually all, but 30-35% leakage is being done in the performance marketing campaigns. What's being done, and we're just at the tip of an iceberg. We're not even talking about programmatic large piece. Uh, recent report by PwC and ISA speaks a lot about that.
Okay.
ANA is quite advocating these kind of capabilities of measuring these capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I think about 30-35% average is a safe number to talk about the kind of app download frauds or lead frauds in the performance marketing, direct media buys and stuff like that. So I mean that's the kind of a number we are talking about. Then I think it created more ruffles in 2018. I would say that was a tipping point. What I would say the Procter and Gamble CMO he,
Okay.
switched, he switched off advertising spends worth $750 million.
Okay.
He's I'll just kill those. And they had 2,500 agencies working for them.
Okay.
2,500 agencies across the world, and P&G is one of the largest advertisers, which we all know.
Right.
And this was followed by a further $400 million cut. So
Huh?
750 plus $400, almost we're talking about $1.2 billion was cut. And that's what they said. It is not transparent. It is not measurable. The walled gardens create a create a create a doesn't give you that kind of transparency. And they're saying even after cutting this, the incrementality what they saw was not different than what they were doing earlier. Now that's how it all started, and I think that was a tipping point. And another data point was you would have I don't know whether you were following that or not. A MethBot, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and 3Eve and MethBot are the two biggest bots which were stealing close to about $3 million to $4 million a day. And that program and that stuff ran it for almost about, if I'm not wrong, about more than a month. So $3 million a month, about $100 million of these two bots which were detected. Imagine the undetected capabilities, uh, kind of stuff what needs to do. So I think the clear direction what I see is, and that's the trend what we're also witnessing, is a collaborative way of solving this thing or controlling this. I don't think so. It can be completely and be eliminated. Like it's like a Tom and Jerry show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a one guy will win and one guy will lose, or cat and mouse kind of a model. Where if that's the case, then it has to be a collaborative methodology where all the partners of the ecosystem, and I'm not discounting publishers, I'm not discounting agencies and ad networks and others. It's a collective responsibility of ensuring
Okay.
this whole ecosystem is addressed properly. Whether it is in terms of education, and that's the kind of stuff what we are trying to do by coming onto these forums, uh, by education, by driving standards, by creating a collaborative framework between brands, agencies, publishers, ad networks,
Okay.
partners like us, auditors like audit agencies, what I spoke about. So it has to be a very, very collaborative approach to get somewhere close to it. The problem is there, and we can't, I don't think so, it can be denied. Of course, the level of education is not maybe 100% there,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to be done for sure. But I think no single person can solve this.
Absolutely. I think, yeah. So where are you on the equation? So one side you have advertiser, other side you have maybe publishers and other such people on the in the ecosystem. So where do you fall in?
See, our capability is we fall in, so we become like a transactional engine,
Okay.
validating whatever is flowing through the pipe. So in a very simple methodology, the moment you get a download, so simple, or maybe you do a click or a download or you do a lead campaign. So so that point of time I get a request whether this is good or a bad.
Okay.
So I would say it's like you're doing a transaction, and whether the transaction is legit or illegit is something what I determine.
Oh,
So, and if I just put the building blocks, there is an advertiser, there is platforms who attribute that which source drove certain capabilities or certain installs or clicks or events leads, and I come in the middle. That
Okay.
once it is attributed, whether it is Google Analytics or it is Omniture or it is app attribution platforms like Kochava or AppsFlyer and others,
Okay.
I become a layer to say that okay, this was attributed, this was validated,
Okay.
attributed minus validated minus illegit is equal to the valid transactions. So I complete that equation, and then basis that equation, the payouts will eventually happen. So I come as a transaction engine to audit or transact whether this is good or bad.
That's what I was just thinking when you said you sort of audit them. So you have to be somewhere probably
Yes.
arm's distance from everyone to really be in that situation to do that.
No, absolutely. So yeah, you did it right. So we come as a validation layer, and
Okay.
that's why the neutrality elements of companies are like us extremely important.
Hmm.
Conflict of interest is the second one. There has to be no conflict of interest in terms of exactly what we're doing. Uh,
Okay.
these two elements are extremely important. Uh,
Hmm.
our line of business, it is trust, it is credibility, and if you look at our tagline is also called adding trust to digital.
Right.
That's what we are, and that's why we call. And I talk about when we had just started about 4 years back, about 3.5, 4 years back. One of our very earlier customers, he said, I mean, you are taking responsibility of a judge. Please ensure you have very high level of ethics,
Right.
very level of trust and transparency, and our whole business model and our whole interaction around involves around these three broad elements: ethics, transparency, trust. Because if we falter in any of them, I think we would be biased and we will not have the right capabilities. So I mean that's how we position ourselves.
Okay. Help me understand what are the basic, building blocks of this solution. Like, if I understand, there has to be a bit of obviously a good understanding of digital marketing, maybe some element of forensics. So what all does really build up this solution?
I think I would say I think I just talked about the technicalities a little bit later.
Okay.
What is the key element is uh, in terms of having basic common sense. And common sense, why I said, too good a result on any kind of a campaign raises alarm. Too bad, of course, it raises alarm. So too
Absolutely.
bad, you would kill it. Too good, also, you will kill it. We will
Oh,
kill it.
okay.
We will recommend that too good is something wrong. Let's correct this. And organic stealing was one example what I gave you.
Okay.
So our typical models are the customer is saying once I run an algorithm, like for example, I walk in, I connect to their transactional platforms, the attribution platforms. I run the checks. I run a check, for example, which geographies the that particular transaction is coming from. A
Okay.
very basic thing, right? Again, I said it's common sense. Which geography it is coming from. If it's an India campaign, it needs to come from India geography. And you would say that this geography is coming from the US.
Hmm.
I mean, there's something wrong, right? It can't come. If it's
Absolutely.
an Indian campaign. Then what kind of a VPN? So, okay, the campaign is coming not from India, but it is being proxied via VPN. I mean, it could be a genuine guy, but maybe there are people coming from US. It could be Indians staying there. But if somebody is proxying that data, what is the purpose of proxying?
Hmm.
It's not like making a WhatsApp call from Dubai where WhatsApp is not allowed. But any kind of these anomalies at a basic level would raise alarm for us. That's two basic checks. Third basic check, um, stealing. I said the spamming, the click spamming. Spamming is a pretty widely used words. So
Hmm.
something like I pump in millions of triggers onto a landing page, onto a website, or onto an attribution platform, hoping that these would get converted. So it
Okay.
is something like I have I have put a tag, millions of tags. Now
Mm-hmm.
millions of tags are consumers like you and me, whose tag is being put, and then after that I will say, okay, I hope, I pray that this will actually get into this will get converted. Stealing. Other tags, again the same set of tags for search, for programmatic, for display. Sorry, just these are all digital marketing terms. I don't want to put too much of the element of technology in it.
Right.
Uh, Again, when you look at those dashboards, you look at data. So the data measurement capabilities and analytics capabilities extremely important
Okay.
for any business to thrive in the digital world.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the good part of digital or a bad part of digital is it's all measurable.
Okay.
And it's all measurable.
Right.
Uh, of course, there are certain elements which are opaque, which we can't help it. But whatever is there, please measure. And that's something what we discuss with or consult or recommend all our customers.
Okay.
Please ask questions. If you
Okay.
have questions to your team, to your advertisers, to us, to agencies, you will ask questions, people will come with a logical answer, and then the whole matrices can be measured. So I would say a very basic principle, coming back, common sense, asking the right questions, doing basic measurement, basic checks, and of course, uh, once there is a certain level of maturity, certain level of scale, then please use the right tooling platforms or tooling partners like us
Right.
in ensuring that this is protected. And there are a lot of options for, I would say, from what we compete with, whom we compete with. All are good solutions and all are good capabilities in the ecosystem. Put the right. It's like a puzzle, right? You just when you say you what are the right building blocks. Digital is a medium, but
Hmm.
measurement would play a very significant role once true omni-channel capabilities are being developed by large brands, whether these are traditional brands, these are digital first brands. So digital first brands wants to go offline, traditional brands want to go online. So I think it's a great place to be in, I would say. I mean, the way the technology is getting intermerged and the things are happening, I think it's an exciting space to be in.